Hey y'all! 2025 has been one of the best years in gaming ever, with fantastic games releasing every week in the second half of the year. This year, I've completed 104 different games and DLC, 41 of which were new releases. Over the course of the year, I've been ranking these games as I played them, and I thought it would be fun to turn that into a video. This may be a long one, y'all, so I should have video chapters so you can skip around as much as you want. With that being said, let's get to the ranking. At number 41, I got the Black Ops 7 campaign. While I don't think this is the worst COD campaign ever, it's certainly very close. A terribly written story with shallow characters and villain, and really just a bad sequel to Black Ops 2. A lot of the references to that game kind of just felt like nostalgia bait, leaving the rest of the game feeling like generic corporate live service campaign. The mission design is terrible, featuring extremely gamified elements that just do not fit in a Black Ops campaign. All of this stems from the new endgame mode, which most likely took up the lump sum of development time, leaving this game with a terrible, hastily put together campaign. Its only saving grace is the fact that modern COD gameplay is extremely refined and fun, which means at least I was having fun with that while playing. Overall, just not a good campaign and easily the worst of the year. If you want to see my extended thoughts on this game, check out my full review on my YouTube channel or TikTok. At number 40 is Avowed. I was initially pretty excited for this game because I'm always excited to see what Obsidian can do in the RPG space. I was kind of thinking of this as their version of Skyrim, and that's certainly not what it is. Unfortunately, this game is not only a bad RPG, but also a bad game. I have a hard time calling this a role-playing game, as there's not really much to roleplay here. Your choices in this game do not matter whatsoever, so really what's left is a pretty average action game. The story is bad, with terrible writing and pacing, as well as extremely uninteresting and downright unlikable companions. The world this game takes place in is also by far the most generic fantasy world I have ever seen. The combat in this game is fantastic, however, with this game featuring probably the best first-person melee combat in any game. It was always just so fun to get into combat in this game, and it had saved this miserable experience at least a little bit for me. At number 39 is the Order of the Giants DLC for the recent Indiana Jones game. See, the thing with this DLC is just that I don't really like the main game. I don't have any connection to Indy, so the game really didn't leave much of an impression on me. Obviously, I'm not gonna like a smaller, cheaper, and frankly worse version of that game. This DLC kind of just feels a bit like an expensive side quest with just a few new puzzles and tunes. None of them really stood out to me, honestly, and the main plot is just not the best either, which didn't help. I think fans of the game might like this, but it's just not for me. At number 38 is the Claws of Awaji DLC for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I feel pretty similarly about this as I do the Order of the Giants DLC, except for the fact that I actually do like Shadows. This DLC here kind of just feels like a much smaller chunk of the main game, adding really nothing new or interesting. It is quite literally more of the main game where you do literally the exact same thing. Kill targets, clear camps, play a few story missions, and that's it. I don't think it's bad, but I really can't justify putting it any higher on the list because of how similar it is to the main story. If you didn't like the main story, then there is absolutely no reason to play this, as it's just more of the same. Number 37 is gonna be the Renegades DLC for Destiny 2. I am a huge Destiny fan, and this DLC was just a huge letdown for me. I love Destiny campaigns, and unfortunately, this is just one of the worst ones ever. Extremely repetitive and boring mission design, terrible writing and story, and really just nothing is ever explained. All this Star Wars stuff just kind of shows up and frankly feels out of place. The new Lawless Frontiers activity is inserted into the campaign just to make it longer, and it's all the worse for it. While I do think the endgame is much better than what was found in Edge of Fate, I really hated the campaign in this DLC, and honestly, I'm not sure if I'll keep playing if they keep making the campaigns this bad. To see my full thoughts on this DLC, make sure to check out my full review on my YouTube channel or TikTok. Number 36 is the A Pirate's Fortune DLC for Star Wars Outlaws. To be honest, this is the DLC that convinced me that Outlaws is actually a pretty good game. I know a lot of people like to hate on it for various reasons, but the team at Ubisoft really went back and changed a lot of the more negative aspects of the game. Vehicle combat, no force stealth, and the ability to keep picked up weapons are all things that really changed the game. In its current state, Outlaws is actually a pretty good game, and I'm glad that this DLC let me come back to the game and see that. As for the DLC itself, however, it's just kind of fine. The story is a bit bland with repetitive mission design and poor pacing. This is really nothing more than a side story for the game. Maybe it's worth a play if you're a fan of the main game, but otherwise, I'd say you can skip it. Number 35 is No, I'm Not Human. I discovered this game through TikTok and decided to give it a try, and honestly, I'm glad I did, even if it wasn't as good as I had hoped. I think the idea for this game is really cool, as the central mystery of what's going on is really fun to try and figure out. I was constantly engaged with the story throughout my playthrough, although I do wish the game ended a bit better on a first playthrough. My problem is just beyond that, what's here isn't the best. This is an extremely repetitive game, and I just wish they would have more interesting characters or shakeups from time to time. I also wish the game was a bit scarier, as once you kind of figure out how everything works, all the fear kind of goes away. Again, this is a really interesting concept, and I bet a fun watch on YouTube, but as a game, it's not for me. Number 34 is the Edge of Fate DLC for Destiny 2. This DLC is kind of the opposite of Renegades for me. I actually really like the campaign and story here. The campaign can be a bit repetitive and has a huge pacing issue, but I actually think the story here is really good and one of the best Destiny stories ever. When playing this, I had so much hope for the future of Destiny campaigns, as if they just tighten a few things up, they could start making fantastic campaigns. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, as was clear with Renegades. Renegades actually learned something else from this DLC, being how to make a good endgame. This DLC quite literally has no endgame, with it just being one exotic quest and the raid. It makes sense as they were focusing entirely on the portal, but the portal was just not enough of an endgame to keep people around, me included. Besides the terrible endgame though, this is a pretty good Destiny expansion and makes me excited for the next year of content. Number 33 is South of Midnight. This is one of the first new releases I played all year and was one that I was mixed on. I thought for a long time while playing this that the game was kind of on the edge of being great. It looks fantastic of course, but also has a pretty interesting story and some cool gameplay. As the game went on, however, just more and more issues started showing up. The gameplay is really repetitive and does not change really whatsoever throughout the game. The story is good, but can be a little messy and poorly written at times. The structure of the game can be really repetitive too, which offers little replay value. All of this comes together to make a game that I think a lot of people will really love, but also a lot of people won't, myself included. This is a good game that I think could use a sequel to really iron out some issues. Number 32 is No Players Online 2025. Another horror game this year that I think could have done a lot more with its concept. I think that this game has a really interesting story about grief, and it can be really gripping at times, but gameplay-wise, there's just not much here. The recreation of an old desktop is cool, but kind of feels just like set dressing to me. The gameplay takes the entire game to really get going, and I think there could have been a lot more cool stuff done here. My biggest problem, honestly, is just that it kind of loses the central aspect of the original game, the horror. This game is not really scary whatsoever, and I think they could have not only had the great story, but also more horror elements. For my full thoughts, check out my full review on my YouTube channel or TikTok. At number 31, I got Repo. This is an extremely fun game to play with friends and create a bunch of hilarious moments. I played this earlier in the year with my boyfriend and we had a great time. I think that this game is essentially just Lethal Company but 10 times better. It removes a lot of the things I didn't like from Lethal, like the timing system and some cool progression systems. My main problem with this game is just that, at least when I played it, there wasn't really any reason to keep playing after a while. Like, yeah, certainly, it was a lot of fun, but there wasn't any real progression systems to keep me going. A good party game, but I'm not sure I could see myself playing this regularly for a long period of time. Number 30 is Skate. Like Repo, I kind of lost the will to play this game after a while, but for a different reason. I absolutely love skating around in this game, and finding cool spots to try and get a trick was so fun. Honestly, doing some of the mega skating spots in this game, like the church or the pool on the roof or whatever, was some of the most fun I've had all year. It is so extremely satisfying to just grind this game and watch YouTube or something. This game's big issue is just that the game is more concerned with making you grind the stupid challenges than having fun. I ran out of cool skating spots after a while, so I just kind of focused on the campaign, but it's just so repetitive and boring, I lost the will to play. This map needs to be way bigger and way more diverse, because while it's good for challenges, I don't think this map is good for finding cool mega skating spots to skate at. Number 29 is gonna be Dispatch. So yeah, I think this may be a little low on the list for some people, but I honestly just didn't love this game. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I also certainly don't think it should be nominated for Game of the Year. I had a really hard time connecting with any of the members of Z-Team, which meant that for the first half of the game especially, it was really hard to get through. I think Robert, Invisigal, and Blonde Blazer are all great characters, but the story doesn't let them shine as much as I think they should because of the terrible dispatching minigame. This minigame takes up like a third of the whole game's runtime, and it's just really not that fun. It's extremely repetitive and doesn't have any real story progression, and I think that it's just a real detriment to the overall game. Besides that, however, this is a pretty alright game, and I can definitely see why so many people like it. To see my full thoughts on this game, make sure to check out my full review on my YouTube channel or TikTok. Number 28 is gonna be FNAF Secret of the Mimic. So believe it or not, every game from here on is pretty good or even great to me, including this one. Now, I gotta admit, this game has a ton of problems. This game kinda does really feel like Poppy Playtime, it's not really scary whatsoever, and honestly, the writing and voice acting can kinda be hit or miss. But like, I'm a huge FNAF fan and have been since I was like 9 or 10 years old. This is kind of my dream FNAF game, and being such a huge improvement over Security Breach, it's hard for me to not be excited about it. I can 100% understand many people not liking this game, but for me, I had a good time with it, and I'm excited to see where the franchise goes next. At number 27, I got Assassin's Creed Shadows. So this is another game that I can recognize all the flaws with, but honestly, I still like it anyways. This game is extremely repetitive, too big for its own good, got a pretty mediocre story and bad writing, and frankly, a copy and paste looking open world. But besides all that, I still think there's a lot of good here. I think this game is extremely fun to play, and since the map is so big, it's really fun to explore it all. I also think that clearing bases in this game is more fun than it's been in AC games for a really long time. Exploring this world and collecting skill points was a blast for me, especially while watching YouTube or something. I can totally understand why someone may not like this game, but I still had a really good time while playing it. At number 26 is the Battle for Brooklyn DLC for The Division 2. I got into The Division 2 with my roommate at the start of 2025 and played over 100 hours of it in the first few months of the year. I was extremely excited for this DLC, and when it finally came out, I honestly wasn't disappointed. The Division 2 is really light on content, so with the relatively large amount of content here, this was a huge shakeup for the game. The new story isn't the best, but I really did like the new missions and open world. I really, truly think that this DLC could be a perfect path forward for the game, as delivering something this size every 12 to 18 months would really keep the game alive and players engaged. Certainly, many people may not like this DLC, but as a potential future for the game, I see hope here. Number 25 is the Valley of Memories DLC for Assassin's Creed Mirage. I really did not like the main story of Mirage, as it really wasn't the best told and really repetitive. Surprisingly though, this DLC is one of the best AC stories in a long time, being well written and acted. This is a small free DLC, but for what it is, it's great. Some emotional moments and really great ending come together to create a surprisingly memorable DLC. I honestly recommend giving this a try even if you're not a fan of the base game. For my full thoughts, check out my full review on my YouTube or TikTok. Number 24 is Death Stranding 2. Another hot take here for many, as for some reason this game was nominated for Game of the Year, something I certainly don't think should have happened. This game is much better than the first game in really every single way. The story here is paced a lot better and really a lot more clearly told and interesting. The gameplay takes on a lot more of an action focus, thankfully, meaning it's a lot more of a traditional game. The thing is, for me, it's just that this story feels way too similar to the first game. Like, really, it's got the same main villain, same kind of weird dream sequences, same kind of goal. It's all the same. On top of that, this game is way easier than the first game, and I think that actually negatively impacts it. The deliveries in this game are just so mindless because of how easy it is, unlike the first game where you really had to plan out a route. Not a bad game by any means and still has a lot of great moments, just not one of the best games of the year for me. Number 23 is Silent Hill F. A lot of people said that as the game went on, they started liking it less and less, but it was really the opposite for me. In survival horror games, I tend to save my resources, so I would kind of run past enemies instead of fight them. This was definitely the wrong way to go, and I just got really bored. Towards the end, however, I decided to just fight all the enemies, and honestly, I had a lot of fun. I think the combat system in this game is fine for what it is, and works good enough. The story in this game also gets really good towards the end as well. Also, I gotta say, despite not taking place in Silent Hill, this feels 100% like a Silent Hill game, unlike something like Silent Hill 4. Not a perfect game by any means, but still a fun and scary time to be had. Number 22 is Ghost of Yotei. Another hot take, as I think people really love this game, but honestly, I'm not sure why. This game is really almost exactly the same as Shadows, just a lot more cinematic. The story in this game sucks, which is a real shame since the story in the first game is fantastic. The way the game is set up, the story cannot really progress until the last area, and even when it does, it's just another typical revenge plotline that is done much worse than something like Last of Us 2. The plot is just not engaging, nor are the end missions, frankly, which are really just copy and pasted over the whole game. stealthing or fighting people and infiltrating a base. The thing I like about this game is the exact same thing I like about Shadows. Exploring the world and doing side objectives is so fun here. I loved finding the baths or altars in this game. It was easily my favorite part about it. The only real reason this is so much higher than Shadows is that it does clearly feel more expensive and cinematic than that game, even if they are very similar. At number 21, I got Haste. Haste is a really simple game that I saw being developed on TikTok over various years, and finally being able to play it was really cool. It's a relatively simple concept. I think I've played a 2D version of something like this on my phone, but I think they do a good job at making it fun. This game is just addicting to play, honestly, and seems like a great game to just turn your brain off and play. I love all the little upgrades you can get, though I do think they are a bit too expensive to reasonably get. The story here is also surprisingly interesting. I'm not a fan of the roguelike aspect of this game, as I hate losing that much progress, but the game is balanced in a way where that's never really an issue. Honestly, a really great and fun game. Number 20 is Battlefield 6. I did play a good amount of the multiplayer beta and had a great time, but this ranking is more focusing on the campaign. What I want from a Battlefield campaign is for it to be just as action-packed as a typical multiplayer match, and I think that this game does that. It's not a perfect campaign, being a bit short and honestly not having the best story, but I got exactly what I wanted out of it. I do hope that with the next Battlefield, they can take what they learned from this one and make an even better campaign. But for now, I'm happy with this. Number 19, the From the Ashes DLC for Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Another really surprisingly good Ubisoft DLC for this year. I honestly did not like the main game here at all, with its terrible leveling system and story bringing it down, but this DLC somehow fixes all of that. With an entirely redone leveling system and larger focus on story, this DLC really surprised me. This DLC shows me what Frontiers of Pandora could have been if it had a little more time in development. There is a great game here, and I hope that a sequel can be made to realize it. If you want to see my extended thoughts on this DLC, check out my full review on my YouTube channel or TikTok. Number 18 is gonna be Metal Garden. This is a short little indie game that flew under my radar for most of the year, but I'm really glad I was able to play it and give it a try. The best part about this game is the atmosphere it creates. Platforming around these mega structures really has this cool vibe to it with the somber and quiet music. This game just looks so pretty and was a blast to explore this world. The level design also does a great job at looping around on itself to avoid backtracking. The combat does feel a bit floaty, I would say, and there's only like 3 weapons, I think. This is also an extremely short game, taking me under an hour to beat on my first playthrough. Besides that, however, this is a really unique little game and one of the most interesting of this year. Number 17 is Routine. Being in development for 13 years, I was a little skeptical at how this would turn out. Luckily, however, this was a fantastic horror game. While it is a bit generic, we don't get many hide-and-seek horror games like this anymore. This feels like a smaller version of Alien Isolation, which is one of my favorite games. The atmosphere and sound design is just as good here as it is in Isolation, making this an incredibly scary game. I do think the game falls off a bit in the second half, but this is overall a really good time. To see my full thoughts on Routine, make sure to check out my full review on YouTube or TikTok. Number 16, Metal Eden. Metal Eden is a game with a lot of flaws, but with one big positive. This game has a terrible story, is not well written, has no new game plus or replayability, features AI voice acting, and takes forever to get far in the power curve. Yet, besides all that, this game has one of the best and most fun combat systems in any game all year. I wanted to put this lower, but this game is just way too fun to put any lower. I just love all the different weapons and movement options, and I wish this game was longer or had New Game Plus or something so I could keep playing. If you're a fan of the new Doom games or fast paced shooters, then this game is for you. Number 15, Destiny Rising. After the mediocre year that Destiny 2 has had, it was really interesting to play this game as it's essentially a view at what a potential Destiny 3 could look like. It's not a perfect game by any means, with predatory monetization and mobile game systems to supplement them. The writing and voice acting can be all over the place as well. But this game clearly has learned from Destiny's entire history to not only create a really engaging campaign, but also a story that does a great job at being a starting point for new players. For a mobile game, this was way better than I ever thought it would be. At number 14 is The Outer Worlds 2. The Outer Worlds 2 was the Obsidian release I was most excited for this year, and honestly, it didn't disappoint. This game may not be as good as New Vegas, but it still does a great job at reactivity, just in a different way. The story is also much better written than the first game, with a lot more of a serious tone, even if it loses a bit of the satire the original had. I do wish the combat was a bit better here, however, but it doesn't ruin this game's great RPG systems or story at all. This is a really good game and proves that Obsidian can still make a great RPG. If you want to see my full thoughts on this game, make sure to check out my full review on my YouTube channel or TikTok. Number 13, Blueprints. I'm honestly not a big fan of games like this. People love to glaze the Outer Wilds, but I just didn't really connect with that game when I played it. This game, on the other hand, I loved. Not only is it filled with unique and interesting puzzles, but on top of that, it has an engaging gameplay loop to help with the pacing. Not only am I solving puzzles, but I'm using strategy to get as far as I can into the house, finding more and more secrets as I go. I did get stuck a few times and had to look up some clues, but this game does a really great job at enabling the player to solve things themselves, while also having much deeper and harder puzzles that the community is still trying to solve to this day. This is an extremely unique game and one that I think is definitely worth a try. Number 12 is gonna be Peak. I know this may be a little high up for a game this simple, but I honestly think this game is fantastic. It has an extremely cute art style, fantastically fun gameplay, and cool progression systems. I played this game with my boyfriend as well as solo, and I had fun each time. This is an extremely simple game, yet each area has some new twist that always keeps you engaged. The rotating map and areas keep the game from getting stale as well. I love how daunting this game feels, with each mountain feeling almost impossible to climb, and then eventually overcoming it. The many different difficulty modes and cosmetics give the game great replayability too. It may be a friend swap type game, but it is extremely fun. Number 11, Oblivion Remastered. I played the original Oblivion a year or two ago, and while I thought it had a lot of great elements, it was just dated in so many aspects. The leveling system, combat, and dungeon design all just push me away from the game. This remaster somehow fixes all of that, while still leaving in what made the original so great. The new leveling system is way better than what was found in the original, where I surpassed the level I reached in the original game after just a few hours in this one. The combat features some minor changes that make it feel a lot smoother and more fun to play. This game also features a Dead Space-like guiding spell, which helps prevent the player from getting lost in dungeons. I didn't have any performance issues either, so I had a really great time overall. Number 10, Schedule 1. While the game may not be complete yet, what's here is an extremely engaging gameplay loop. I loved all the different recipes you could create in this game, and finding the best combination for one was so fun. I think the best part about this game to me was just the fantastic progression system. I always felt like I was moving up in this game, as there's always some kind of meaningful unlock ahead of you. I do think this game has a lot more work that needs to be done, like adding more content and maybe a story quest, but what's here now is extremely fun. Playing this with my boyfriend was some of the most fun I had all year. Number 9, Doom the Dark Ages. I see a lot of people hating on this game, and honestly, I'm not really sure why. I think this may be my favorite Doom game, as it's kind of the perfect blend of 2016 and Eternal for me. I love the new open missions as well, as they kind of are just filled with secrets, which is one of my favorite parts of Doom. I will say this game was supposed to be the most story focused Doom game yet, but I honestly think this is the worst story yet of the recent three. Like, the writing and storytelling is just terrible, but still, it's a relatively small part of this game, so I never ended up really caring. Number 8, Mafia: The Old Country. Another game that I see people hating on, although I do kind of understand why. There are a lot of things about this game that you could say are bad, like the kind of antiquated combat or empty open world, but like that's not what I come to the Mafia franchise for. This game has a fantastic story and to me proves that Hangar 13 knows what they're doing with this franchise. I do think the next entry should have some kind of extra objectives in the open world to appease more people, but I hope they continue down this narratively driven path and stay far, far away from what Mafia 3 did. Number 7, Borderlands 4. So honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the Borderlands franchise. I really disliked the first three games, as while the story was decent, the gameplay and shooting just felt terrible, as well as the ridiculous level requirements for missions, which forced the player to grind. Borderlands 3 was a huge step in the right direction for me, with the best gameplay in the series yet. Borderlands 4 continues that trend with even better gameplay and an alright story too. This game was just so fun to play that I didn't mind having to grind levels here and there, which was also thankfully much reduced than in previous games. The new open world as well is fantastic and the right move for the franchise. This is the first Borderlands game that feels modern to me, and thus my favorite in the franchise. Number 6, Metal Gear Solid Delta. When I was playing through the Metal Gear franchise when the Master Collection came out, I made the decision to stop playing after Metal Gear Solid 2 and wait for this remake to come out. Honestly, I'm really glad I did. From what I understand, this is a fantastic recreation of the original game, while also modernizing the gameplay for a modern audience, which sounds perfect to me. While the new third-person camera does seemingly make some areas easier, I don't mind it as it makes the game more fun for me. I don't really play Metal Gear games for the gameplay, but for the story. The story in this game is just fantastic and I'm so glad that I was able to experience it for the first time in this way. Number 5, Chronos: The New Dawn. After the Silent Hill 2 remake, I was really interested to see where Bloober Team would go next. I had played a few of their games before then and was honestly not impressed at all. This game would be a real test for them to see if the Silent Hill 2 remake was just a fluke or if they really were that talented. And yeah, I gotta say, they proved themselves with this game. Chronos is the perfect blend of survival and action horror, while also featuring a gripping story. The combat in this game is so fun. I love the charge shot mechanic, and I think the merge mechanic is a really cool gimmick. The resource economy is balanced just right, I would say, where I was always on the verge of running out of resources, yet never actually doing so. The story is also extremely well written and interesting, with some fascinating characters and mysteries. I do think this game has some of the pacing issues that SH2 Remake had, but other than that, this is a fantastic game and one of the best of the year. Number 4, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Ever since the release of Mario Odyssey in 2017, I have been waiting for a sequel. Finally, it's here, and just as good as ever. DK Bonanza is literally just Mario Odyssey, but you can break stuff instead of capturing stuff. Some people may not like that and find it a bit repetitive, but as someone who absolutely loves Odyssey, I don't mind it. Bonanza is just as creative as Odyssey ever was, with just as inventive puzzle designs. I also love the movement system in this game as well, being probably even more fast-paced and fluid than Odyssey ever was. On top of even all that, this game features an actually pretty good story by Nintendo standards, with cool characters, villains, and lore. Bonanza is the dream sequel I have been waiting for, and it's so nice to finally get to play it. The last 3 games are all 10 out of 10 for me. The best of the year by far. At number 3, I got Split Fiction. Split Fiction is one of the most fun times I have ever had playing a video game. I played with my boyfriend, and the act of playing it together just brought us so close together, showing the power of a game like this. Split Fiction is one of the most inventive games ever, perfectly balancing action set pieces with puzzle segments. You will never be bored while playing this, as a new mechanic of some sort shows up every 10 minutes or so. Sure, you could make the argument that the story, characters, and writing aren't the best, but that's not why I play this game. I play this game to have fun, and that's exactly what I did. It's a shame this game came out this year, as if it came out any other year, it would have won Game of the Year. So, believe it or not, number 2 is actually my Game of the Year, which I'll explain why later. At number 2, I got, of course, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game is one of the most hyped I've ever seen, so I had really high expectations going in, and somehow this game met them. This game has one of the best written stories ever, with an extremely memorable ending as well. The combat system is also super unique, blending turn-based combat with real-time combat, making the genre much more accessible. The world is extremely beautiful and well realized as well, with tons of content to be found. It's not a perfect game by any means, with some small pacing issues here and there, and bad facial models / expressions, but it's damn near close. This game is well worth a try and definitely deserved Game of the Year. Before I go into the number 1 slot, I wanted to kinda list out my sorta honorable mentions. There were a ton of games that I wanted to play and even bought this year, but never had the chance to due to time or something like that. So here's a list of every single game released this year that I want to play and will eventually, but didn't have the chance to this year. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Grounded 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Hades 2, Gears of War Reloaded, Hell is Us, Slime Rancher 2, RoboCop Rogue City Unfinished Business, Angry Video Game Nerd 8-Bit, Tainted Grail The Fall of Avalon, Power Wash Simulator 2, Tomb Raider 4-6 Remastered, Splitgate Arena Reloaded, and Arc Raiders. If a game isn't on this list, it means I didn't buy it yet, forgot about it, or just don't plan on playing it. Hopefully, I can play all of these games in the next year or two. Now, at number 1, I got Deltarune. Yep, that's right. The gay furry has Deltarune at number 1. This game is so much more than furry bait though, in my opinion. Deltarune is a lot like Undertale, which is one of my favorite games of all time, just better in every single way. the expanded scope, better combat and RPG system, better story, writing, and characters, much better art, and even fantastic music. Everything that I loved about Undertale is here and somehow even better. This story is just so engaging, and I love these characters so much that there was no way I couldn't put this at the top spot. Now, I'm not gonna call this my game of the year though, because technically it's only halfway finished. It doesn't feel right to call a game with only 4 out of 7 chapters released game of the year, but I at least feel confident enough to put it at the top of my list. If this game keeps up the same quality it has so far, by the time it's done, this could easily be one of, if not the best game of all time. Well, y'all, that's my list for 2025. Please remember that this is all just my opinion, which can be very biased based on things that I like. 2025 was a special year in gaming and had so many fantastic releases. This year will go down in history as potentially the best year for new game releases ever. Hopefully, my list does a good job reflecting that. That's all I got for today, y'all. I would really appreciate it if you could like, comment, or even subscribe, as I put a ton of work into this video. Otherwise, I just want to take the last few moments to talk about me and the future of my channel in 2026. Okay, this might be a longer one, you guys, because I have more to say. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the elephant in the room. Did I actually play and complete 104 different DLCs and games in 2025? And the answer is no. Technically, I did play 104 different games in 2025, but I only completed 102. So, Donkey Kong Bonanza, I beat at 1 a.m. on January 1st, 2026. And then Destiny Rising, I think I beat on the 4th? Or maybe it was the 3rd. I think it was the 4th. No, it was the 3rd. I don't know. But yeah, you know, I did beat a lot of games this year. I'm just kind of joking. But yeah, gaming, like playing games like this is like my passion. You know, I love playing new games and I love reviewing them. That's why I want to do this YouTube thing. Another thing I want to talk about before my channel is this ranking. So I made this ranking. I started making it well before I decided I wanted to start my YouTube this year. So I didn't really think about that while I was making it. So there might be some choices in here that people don't like Ghost of Yote being so far down, or Dispatch being so far down, or people might compare fucking like Schedule 1 is like right above Oblivion, essentially. You know, I made this ranking not just like how well made a game is like technically, but just my enjoyment of it and how much I like it. You know, so like if we're talking about like the best made game, probably like Donkey Kong Bonanza or something, or Expedition 33 should be there. But like I wanted to put Deltarune at number 1 because I love that game. Yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. So this is like also probably going to be my longest video ever, especially, it's already been 3 minutes, wow. Especially with this part. So, you know, I wanted to get this out on the 2-month anniversary of my channel, January 6th, but I just didn't really want to record this video because I thought it would be so long, and like, it's hard to wear this for so long. It gets really sweaty, but I don't know. I thought today, like, my voiceover was a little bit better than usual. Like, I still made mistakes, of course, but whatever. But like, I don't know. I thought I did a good job. This wasn't that bad. But yeah, I wanted it to come out on January 6th, 2-month anniversary. So you could call technically 2025 my first year on YouTube. And I had a lot of fun. I have 9 subscribers currently, only 2 of which are people I know. One is me on my like normal YouTube account, and then one is my boyfriend. So I had 7 subscribers in 2 months. That's not too bad at all. And then of course TikTok, I'm at like 1,020 right now in 2 months, which is crazy. Um, but I had a pretty successful time so far, in my opinion, and I'm having a lot of fun doing this. So in 2026, I want to keep going. My New Year's resolution is to upload once a week for the entire year. I hope I can do that. We'll see. There may be some things that get in the way that I will mention in a minute. But in the immediate future of this channel, I do have 2 video ideas that I know are going to come out soon. So I'm going to make a part 2 of my Renegades review because I actually did the dungeon and I grinded the endgame a bunch. And then I'm probably going to make a review of the new A$AP Rocky album. So in the immediate future, that's what it's going to be. Now, until February 29th, I think it is, no really new games are going to come out. So I have a ton of video ideas that I can make. I actually save up scripts. Like I write scripts for things and then I don't make them because I hate recording. So I think I have at least like, I think 5 scripts ready to go. So I'm gonna probably try to post those at least once a week. Try to space them out a bit, of course. But yeah, you know, it's good to have that. It's gonna be some ranking things, it's gonna be some reviews. I am thinking of starting a new series called Mini Review, which is like a quick review is supposed to be a fast made review of a new release that I don't play any side quests of. So that's why it's called a quick review, because I get through the game quick and I make the review quick. But mini reviews are supposed to be smaller reviews of games that I play that aren't new. But I fucking have made, I think, 3 mini review scripts and they're just as long. So frankly, I'm thinking of just calling them reviews, which I don't want to do because when I make actual long reviews, like an hour long out of games I love, I wanted to call those reviews, but I could call them like full reviews, or I don't want to call them like retrospectives or analysis because that's not what it is, but whatever. So yeah, I got that coming. I don't think I have anything else to say. So regarding the long-term future of this channel, I do want to post once a week, like I said, cover all the new releases, probably some extra things here and there, but with one big caveat. So I got an internship this summer, yay! And it's at a big company, and it's a 10-week internship, 40 hours a week. And I've never worked corporate job before. I don't even know if I worked 40 hours a week. I've at least worked 35 a week. And that killed me. So frankly, it very well could be that I stop uploading during my internship, which I don't want to do, but it's like, if I just am dead all day, you know, after I get home from work, I'm probably not going to want to record. So that could happen in the future of this channel. But besides that, you know, I plan to cover everything. I don't plan on quitting at all. Like I said, 1 video a week on here, maybe 2 videos a week on TikTok. I love doing this. This is so fun, and I just want to keep going with YouTube. Jesus, 8 minutes? We gotta wrap this up. So yeah, you guys, you know, thank you so much if you watch this. If you are one of my 7 subscribers, I appreciate each and every one of you, even though I only know who 2 of you are, because you need to have public subscribers on, whatever. Thanks to every single person who watches my videos, leaves a like, leaves a comment. I literally screenshot comments because they are so nice. Thank you so much, you guys, for everything in this 2 months. I really appreciate it, and I hope that in 1 year, when I'm making hopefully the 2026 version of this video, I can say great things about this year. But yeah, you guys, that's, I think, all I have to say. thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your whatever. Hope you have a great year and happy new year. Thanks for watching. Bye.